In 1875, in the quiet, wind-beaten town of Ashford, Maine, something strange happened. It began on a morning drenched in fog, the kind of fog that swallowed every sound, where even the clip-clop of horse hooves seemed far away, as if muted by unseen hands. Dirt roads wound through frost-bitten fields, leading to a lonely, weathered farmhouse at the edge of town. Inside that house, the Caldwell family woke to find their only son, standing in complete silence, barefoot on the creaking wooden floor, his pale face fixed on the frost-covered window. Hours passed. He never moved. He never blinked. His breath left no miss on the glass, as though the cold had no claim over him. Neighbors walking by claimed they had seen him earlier, unmoving on the porch, his thin nightshirt fluttering in the icy wind. And yet, when his mother called his name, Timothy slowly turned, eyes dark and hollow, watching her, but not speaking. Some in Ashford whispered it was a curse. Others swore they saw faint figures in the fog that morning, standing far out in the fields, watching the farmhouse. And a few never spoke of it again. The Caldwell family had lived in Ashford for 3 generations. Farmers, churchgoers, quiet people. Their land stretched across brittle fields of wheat and stone walls blackened with lichen. Timothy was their only son. At 12 years old, he moved through life like a shadow, pale as candle wax, small for his age, and eerily still. Unlike other children who fill the streets with laughter and running footsteps, Timothy was never seen chasing marbles, climbing trees, or skipping rocks across the river. Neighbors whispered of peculiar things, that they had never seen him blink, that no one, not even his own parents, had ever truly heard his voice. He communicated only with soft gestures, a nod or tilt of his head, and sometimes nothing at all. Doctors came once, arriving on a horse-drawn carriage from Portland. They stayed for only 2 nights. People said they examined Timothy by candlelight, watched his pulse slow unnaturally, and left without explanation. In those days, silence carried weight, and Timothy's silence felt almost unnatural. Stories passed quietly from porch to porch. Old superstitions about children marked by spirits or born beneath cursed stars. Some claimed Timothy had been touched by something not meant for this world. The Caldwell parents denied it all. They clung to their faith, insisting their son was merely quiet, perhaps frail, but no different from any other child. And yet, fear lingered. Like the heavy fog that rolled down Ashford's narrow streets each morning, fear clung to the townspeople. A fear that one day, whatever made Timothy different, might no longer stay hidden. Then came the nights. It began quietly, almost unnoticed. Timothy started waking at exactly 3:17 a.m., not 3:16, not 3:18, always the same minute, every night without fail. His parents would rise to find the farmhouse door ajar, a trail of tiny footprints leading into the snow. Witnesses swore they saw him standing in the fields near the old churchyard, barefoot, the bitter Maine winter biting at his pale skin. Yet he never shivered, never wrapped his arm for warmth. He only stared toward the cracked stone walls of the church, as if listening to something only he could hear. When physicians tried to examine him during the day, strange things happened. The moment they laid hands on him, Timothy's pulse stopped. Completely. No heartbeat. No breath rising in his chest. They claimed he would stand like that for minutes at a time, his dark eyes unblinking, until the doctors recoiled in terror. Moments later, his pulse would return as though nothing had happened. Word of the boy spread beyond Ashford. Priests arrived, carrying holy water and crucifixes, convinced he was possessed by forces beyond human comprehension. Some said prayers over him, others demanded an exorcism. Journalists traveled from Boston, writing sensational headlines about a living ghost boy, a child science couldn't explain. The Caldwell farmhouse became a strange place of pilgrimage. But Ashford began to divide. The more the story grew, the more fear consumed the town. Logic battled superstition. Some called Timothy a danger, insisting he should be locked away before something terrible happened. Others believed he was touched by divinity, that to brush even a fingertip against his skin might heal the sick, cleanse the soul. Crowds gathered outside the farmhouse each night, lanterns swaying in the icy wind. Mothers brought sick children hoping Timothy would glance at them. Farmers prayed to be spared from the mysterious ailments that plagued their livestock. And yet, Behind closed doors, the Caldwell home filled with dread. The family could no longer sleep. Neighbors stopped visiting. Doors were bolted, windows shuttered. But still, at 3:17 a.m., the boy would walk into the snow. It was as if something unseen was calling him. One bitter December night, the snow lay deep against the Caldwell farmhouse walls. Lantern light flickered through the frostbitten windows, casting long, shifting shadows across the wooden floors. Inside, a physician named Dr. Elias Hargrove sat awake by the fire. Unlike the others, he wasn't here to write headlines or wave crucifixes. He wanted answers. For hours, he watched Timothy sleep in perfect stillness, his chest barely rising. Then, as the clock struck 3:17 a.m., Timothy's eyes opened. Without a sound, he rose from his bed, bare feet silent on the frozen boards, and walked toward the door. Dr. Hargrove followed, his boots crunching softly in the snow. The night was deathly quiet. The moon hung pale and thin, casting a silver sheen across the fields. Timothy stopped near the edge of the churchyard, his thin figure stark against the white ground. For the first time, he turned to face the doctor, and then, in a voice that was soft, hollow, almost not of this world, Timothy spoke. "They said I shouldn't be here." Dr. Hargrove's breath froze in his throat. His voice cracked as he asked, "Who are they?" Timothy slowly lifted his arm, pointing toward the fog drifting just beyond the graves. And there, faint outlines emerged. Not people, not animals, something in between. The fog shifted like it was alive, figures gliding and dissolving, their shapes tall, narrow, and wrong. The doctor stumbled backward, his lantern swinging wildly. But Timothy stood unmoving, as if listening to whispers only he could hear. By morning, Dr. Hargrove was gone, vanished without a single sound. His boots, his medical bag, even his coat, left neatly by the hearth. Official records claimed he returned to Boston, but there were no train logs, no carriages seen leaving town. No letters ever reached his family. It was as if he had been erased. Soon after, Timothy Caldwell himself disappeared. One night, he walked out into the fog and never came home. Search parties scoured the frozen fields, dredged the river, combed the forest. Nothing. The Caldwell farmhouse was sealed by order of the town elders. Windows nailed shut, doors barred. No one was permitted to enter. Some say they still see light flicker from its windows on winter nights. Others swear they hear soft footsteps in the snow, always at 3:17 a.m. Today, the Caldwell name is remembered only in whispers. No living descendants, no family records, just faded mentions in brittle, yellowed town ledgers. Some believe Timothy Caldwell was nothing more than an unstudied medical anomaly, a child whose stillness and silence could be explained by science that hadn't yet been discovered. They speak of rare neurological conditions, of sleepwalking, of undetectable heartbeats. But others believe something entirely different. Locals who have inherited old family journals write of shadows in the fields, voices calling through the fog, and children born not meant for this place. They say Timothy wasn't sick. He wasn't broken. He was pulled, called to something beyond human understanding. The truth was buried long ago, taken to graves by the townspeople who swore never to speak of that winter again. The farmhouse stands abandoned, rotting into the earth, but travelers still report strange happenings. Some claim to see a pale boy walking the churchyard alone in the early hours before dawn. Others hear footsteps crunching in the snow behind them, only to turn and find nothing. And yet, one thing remains. On the northern wall of Ashford's crumbling church, carved deep into the old stone, 3 words endure after nearly a century and a half. "I shouldn't be here." No one knows who etched them, or when, but every winter, when the fog rolls in and the bells fall silent, some swear they see a barefoot boy standing in the distance, watching. Do you believe the truth was ever revealed? Or was Timothy Caldwell never meant to be explained? Some mysteries refuse to stay buried. If you walked through Ashford's churchyard, if you felt unseen footsteps behind you, or heard a child's whisper carried on the fog, tell us what you believe in the comments below. And remember, some stories watch you back.